So I just got done finished reading The Great and Terrible series number 5 from the End of Heaven. Trying to get a picture of it here for you. Yes. Look upon my beautiful face. Happy Thanksgiving, by the way, for those of my followers that are in America. Okay, so from the End of Heaven, this is the 5th out of 6 book in the Great and Terrible series, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints based fiction about the last days and what happens. So the synopsis that goes with this story on Goodreads is a little misleading. It makes it sound like Sam and Bono with Azada were going to go into across seas in the Middle East to go take out King Abdullah. That doesn't happen in this book at all. It is in the end chapters, they're told that they will be going over. Sam will be leading a small team with Azada into Iran to take out King Abdullah. So this book is basically Sam finding his family, giving Luke and Kelly a blessing. Kelly is cured of cancer now through the blessing, through the power of God. And Luke, they start off with Luke basically being in the hospital that is beyond capacity. And so Sam is at the apartment with Kelly and Mary and Azada, and Sarah, Ammon are at the hospital with Luke. And like I said, hospital's crowded. Doctors are frazzled. Nurses are frazzled. There's not enough space. There's not enough availability. There's not enough technology. Things are a mess. So the doctor calls in Sarah and Ammon, and he reiterates with them, so he got shot, right? And they're like, yeah, you saw him get shot, right? And they say, yeah. And the doctor goes, then he's like, there's an entry wound, there's an exit wound of a bullet. So I believe you that he got shot, except where the entry wound is and where the exit wound is, nothing is damaged. So nothing's damaged. And so the doctor is shocked. He doesn't know what's going on. And basically he says, your son's fine. He's just going to have to deal with these entry and exit wounds. Everything else is fine. Internally, he is fine. And I need this bed. So when he wakes up, go ahead and get him out of here. Sam had ended up rushing to the hospital to see where they were at, and found them there just as they were leaving. And so after a little bit more drama, they eventually get everyone back up to the apartment, where they're trying to figure out what to do. So they're trying to look for maybe a stake building or a ward building where they can go and maybe have some safe haven. So that is their plan. And some undesirable things happen along the way. It's basically, the whole book is about them surviving the EMP attack and trying to get to safety, basically. Now, for Bono was being flown to a military outpost in Tennessee, maybe not in Tennessee, maybe somewhere close by, but either way, he still had like 3 days before he could get to his wife, Kaylin, and their daughter, Ellie. Now, his wife, we get to know her a little bit better in this book, so great. We get a little bit of backstory on her and Bono, which I don't think is really important, just that she is a convert due to Bono. Her parents are not converts. They don't really believe in that kind of stuff. So she's at her parents' house, at her parents' farm. They're smoking meat. Her father is he had a brain injury long before she was even conceived. So it seems like it took a lot of his knowledge about what he had before, but every now and then it seems like he gets some engineering knowledge, in which he can make things and such. Like he built a little smoker for them to be able to make some jerky from the cows that they had. They put the cattle in the back of the farm so that hopefully people wouldn't see them and come and take them. A gentleman from the ward out there had been going around in his tractor, which is still running. He had been led by the spirit before the EMP attack to pick up some parts for this tractor. And so he picked him up. And after the EMP attacked, he was able to get the tractor running by those parts. So, and the tractor is also older than the 1978 or whatever year it is that they say that machinery built before then will work. So anyway, so he goes out to check on him, and gives him a little bit of food that he has, tells her there's a meeting on a certain day. If she can make it, great. So her mom is kind of tough, strong, prideful, not really in a bad way, just in a way that she's had to take care of her husband, and she's had to take care of her family for the most part, pretty much all her life. So she doesn't believe really in the church, which they kind of joke about a little bit in here, which is fine. It's fine. So we got them, and then we have Bono basically making the trek from the military base that he was dropped off at to his in-laws' place in Tennessee. And he gets sick on the way and kind of passes out and loses consciousness, and an old farmer finds him. I guess not an old farmer. He's a doctor who owned a farm, and so he and his family had holed up there. So he finds him on a horse, gets him on the horse, takes him back to the farmhouse, nurses him back to health. And basically the wife is saying, yeah, you've got to get to your wife and your child, like you only have a couple days with them. Go ahead and get out of here. And the farmer's like, or the doctor's like, I really don't think you're going to make it in your condition. Bono's like, I kind of have to. I don't have very long. And so he says, well, take a horse. So by the end of this book, we don't know what's happened to Bono since then. But based on the fact that he's apparently going across Iran with Sam, he's made it. We do find out at the very end of this book that he did make it to Kaylin and Ellie, but we don't know what happened to him on the way. So we're assuming that nothing much happened to him. So he meets up with Kaylin and Ellie after they had a really traumatizing experience. And we have an army of righteousness and an army of evil, an army of good and an army of evil, kind of going head to head. So Kaylin's preparing potatoes to make, and they hear the old dog barking and sounding kind of aggressive, like there's a stranger on their property. And so Ellie's out playing. Kaylin and Greta, her mom, go out to see what all the hullabaloo is about, because they hear gunshots and they don't hear Miller, the dog, barking anymore. And they find these group of men who they just get a sense of just evil about them, basically shooting their cattle and taking their cattle, which probably would be fine, but they decide they're going to kill the whole herd. And you have snippets of Beyond the Veil of Satan and Balaam whispering to their ears, like, you're going to take the cattle, like, just take the cattle, kill them all. And then Satan's trying to get them to kill Kaylin and her mom as well, and the little girl, and Ellie. And then it ends up where it's almost like time freezes, and we're beyond the veil, where Tian Kim comes, and he has his little army of angels, light angels, and we have Satan and his little army of dark angels. And basically Satan bows out. And Tian Kim gives Kaylin the power to rebuke the evil that is inside these men that are planning on taking them and using them and selling them for trade and all that jazz. So after that incident happens, where they're terrified, but they recognize and feel the power of God that they have, and use it is when Bono comes back. So that's the last of their story in this book. We head back to Sam and the others. They're making a run for it to their place, and the streets are lined with people who are not good. So they're doing the best they can. They eventually get to a building, on the rooftop of a building, because people have started fires all over the city, because I guess that's what people do at the end of the world. Why, I don't know, but I mean, kind of see it in today's world. So they're on a rooftop. The men that are being led by the evil spirits to kill them are at the door, shooting it with a shotgun, trying to get at them, and they're saved by a helicopter. Because earlier in the book, which I forgot to mention, Sarah was able to make a call using Sam's cell phone, which was not affected by the EMP attack because he was underground. And he was able to get some bars because there was a military base not too far away. Anyway, so she was able to make a slight call saying who she was, and it got into both the wrong hands and the bad hands. The guy who's president now is a guy who's more of a puppet than anything. So the men that are on Satan's side, I guess you could say, are more or less just using him as a figurehead. Brucius Marino, the guy who was supposed to be president, but they are assuming he's dead, or they're trying to kill him, or did try to kill him. He was taken by the good guys, and now they're kind of underground, planning their next hurrah. Anyway, so they're in the helicopter to pick up Sarah and everyone with them. So the last scene with them is they got them into the base at Omaha, Nebraska, and basically the Secretary of Defense is telling Sarah what the plan is. Basically, he's like, can I trust you? Like, you're friends with this guy. You and your husband were both friends with him, and he turns out he's not a good guy. Like, he's working with King Abdullah, although he may not know he's working with King Abdullah. He's working on that side. So Sarah is probably going to have to go infiltrate that side and be convincing. Meanwhile, he did say that Sam was going to be leading his own team with Azada in Iraq to go take out King Abdullah. Not take him out, to capture him, bring him back to the Americas so that he can answer for his crimes. And we'll find out what happens in the 6th book. But that is the 5th book of the Great and Terrible series by Chris Stewart.